Hello, thanks for tuning in. In case you haven't seen my intro video, in there I explain that I have schizoaffective disorder and social anxiety disorder. Today I want to discuss schizoaffective disorder and its symptoms. I'll go over social anxiety disorder in another video. So schizoaffective disorder, in case you don't know, is a combination of schizophrenia and a mood disorder, depression or bipolar. In case you're curious, mine is depression. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, or as I used to say, the worst of both worlds. It's whatever you make of it, I suppose. So we'll go over the mood symptoms first, starting with depression. You might have heard a lot of the symptoms of depression already because it has become more well known and more kind of mainstream to talk about depression and anxiety and mental health in general. So you may have already heard of these symptoms, but I'm going to list them anyway in case you haven't heard all of them or you haven't heard any of them. So depression includes a persistent low mood. You just feel kind of low. Like sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel kind of hopeless, but most of the time you just feel kind of low for persistently, like for 2 weeks, I think is the diagnostic criteria. You also have low energy. You feel fatigued. Not necessarily tired, but low energy. Lethargic, You also lose pleasure in things that you used to enjoy, like your hobbies. You might also lose motivation, and you might miss work or school. Some days you might not be able to get out of bed in the morning. You also probably will lose your appetite, or you find you're eating too much. That can also happen. Your sleep is probably going to be affected. A lot of times you end up sleeping too little or you sleep too much. Sometimes you have overwhelming feelings of guilt, worthlessness, or sadness, as I mentioned. A lot of times you have trouble thinking and concentrating, and you also might have frequent thoughts of suicide or self-harm. So that's depression. Now we'll discuss bipolar. So bipolar is, of course, a combination of depression episodes and manic episodes. And so the depression episodes are depression. So I don't have to go over that because we just went over it. But I will go over manic episodes and what the symptoms of those usually are. So in a manic episode, you can find yourself being abnormally upbeat or jumpy or agitated. You'll have increased energy. You'll have euphoria sometimes, which is an exaggerated self-confidence. You'll have little energy. You'll have little need for sleep, so you'll stay up late or you get up really early and you just don't feel like you need sleep. You'll have racing thoughts sometimes. You'll be easily distracted, and you'll probably make poor decisions, such as spending all your money, driving recklessly, or investing in stupid things. Bad investments, I guess. So those are the main symptoms of a manic episode in bipolar. So now I'll go over schizophrenia because that's the other half of schizoaffective disorder. So I want to clear two things up about schizophrenia. For one, it is not split personality. Sometimes people confuse schizophrenia with dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder. It is not that. They are not the same thing. They are two distinct disorders. Schizophrenia means, I think, split mind or something like that, and it's to denote that split from reality, which is a psychotic break or psychotic episode. The other myth is that schizophrenic people are violent. Most of them are not, and most of them actually are more likely to be victims of violence than to be perpetrators of it, for various reasons, but I just want to clear that up. Okay, so there are two kinds of symptoms in schizophrenia. There are positive symptoms and negative symptoms, and they are not positive as in they're good. Positive means that there's something added that wasn't there before, and negative means that there's something taken away. We'll start with the positive symptoms. So one of the major positive symptom of schizophrenia is psychosis. So psychosis is not just a catch-all term. It's not a synonym for crazy. People use psychotic as a synonym for crazy, but I don't think they know what it means. Psychosis and psychotic means something very specific, and that means hallucinations and delusions. Hallucinations are basically false sensory input where you feel or hear or you experience a sensory input that isn't actually there. It's all in your head. Nobody else experiences this, so nobody else sees what you're seeing or hears what you're hearing. The most common type of hallucinations are auditory, and the most common type of that is hearing voices. It's very common, so it's actually so common that in my appointments with my psychiatrist, every time she asks me if I'm hearing voices when I'm alone and there's nobody else there. So it's so common that that's a standard question. I will go over the types of hallucinations and the types of delusions in schizophrenia in a future video, so stay tuned for that. Delusions are false beliefs that you have that don't go away when proven otherwise. So you can have all the evidence in the world saying that what you believe is not the case, and you still believe it because you're experiencing psychosis. I guess a classic delusion is that you think people are out to get you. Paranoid. You're paranoid. So again, like I said, I'll go over the types of delusions in a future video. So other positive symptoms are trouble concentrating, confused thoughts and disorganized speech. For example, they may have trouble following a conversation, and sometimes they may talk nonsense. And I can go over the different types of disorganized speech in the same video about hallucinations and delusions, just to expand more on schizophrenia symptoms, just in case you're curious, in case you know somebody who's just been recently diagnosed, in case you've been recently diagnosed, just for general knowledge. And the last positive symptom is movement disorders. So examples of this are when they make the same movement like over and over again for a while, or when they stop moving entirely, which is called catatonic state. So those are the positive symptoms. Now we'll discuss the negative symptoms, which are things that are taken away. Negative symptoms of schizophrenia actually have a lot of overlap with depression, so you will recognize some of these symptoms from when we discussed depression. So they may stop enjoying things that they used to enjoy, such as with depression, as you may remember. They have trouble with speech, so they may not talk, or they may barely talk, that kind of thing. They may use like single word sentences as responses, that kind of thing. They may have flattening, which means that when they talk, they're emotionless. They don't convey any emotion in their speech. They will likely experience social withdrawal when they stop talking to friends and family. They stop engaging at work. They just kind of isolate themselves. A lot of times they struggle with basic daily life activities such as showering, brushing their teeth, basically things that involve taking care of themselves. They may also experience avolition, which means they have trouble sticking to a schedule, starting tasks, or even completing tasks before they move on to the next thing. They may also have difficulty with working memory. For example, they may not be able to remember different facts at the same time, such as a phone number and instructions that are given within a couple of minutes of each other. They may also have trouble paying attention, organizing their thoughts, and making decisions. That's a big list of symptoms with schizoaffective disorder. I know I kind of threw a lot at you. Nobody with schizoaffective disorder will have all of these symptoms, and not everyone with the disorder will have the same symptoms. It's kind of like that everyone has like a variety that falls within those symptoms, and that's how they present their schizoaffective disorder. And people with this disorder basically have enough symptoms that it impacts their daily life, and daily life becomes a struggle. So on this channel, I've been discussing mental health for a little while now, and if you're into that type of thing, feel free to subscribe. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.